Hello and welcome to PM Express, and we're looking at agri sector development. And I may sound like a broken record, but I've said this over and over and over again, that God in his own wisdom gave everything, every nation, every person an advantage. Everybody has a potential and every nation has a potential. And looking at Ghana, where we are, looking around us, I don't see our potential in the nuclear race or in the automobile sector. I don't see our advantage being in the electronic sector. However, if we come down on the ground, on the earth, in the agric, you can tell clearly that this is what our gift is. And that if we are going to be on the world stage and be a player on the world stage, it has to be something that came out of agric. So it's very, very important to us as a nation that we pay attention to the agric sector, not just lip service. Today, the president launched a 10-year cashew program. We've always said that just as we have the cocoa marketing board, we should have another marketing board for a different crop, which will also yield money for us. So is this the answer that we have been waiting for? But before that, there was planting for food and jobs, which apparently is going to absorb the cashew. But there are differences or difficulties with planting for food and jobs. Some of the numbers don't add up. The unions within the sector are asking for clarification. It hasn't come yet, but we are going in for cashew. Is it good? Is it bad? How do we all join in to make sure that this becomes a success? Peasant farmers are saying that 2018, please do not delay with fertilizers and everything, because unlike, maybe a car mechanic who can wait for a spark plug for 6 months and fix in the car, a farmer cannot wait. He has to get the goods at the right time so they can plant and harvest. That's the issue on the table today. We're looking at Ghana's potential, the agric sector. My name is Nana Nsakwao, the fourth chief of the Little Republic of Akwamu Edumasa, and your favorite TV show host. When I come back, I'm talking to a man who knows a thing or two about agric. Don't go away.
I will urge the Ministry of Food and Agriculture and the Ghana Export Promotion Authority also to incorporate in this plan policies and interventions that will create additional businesses and job opportunities in the areas of storage, transport, and packaging of cashew, which will ensure that our cashew farmers earn higher income.
We propose for your consideration, His Excellency, the allocation of the Tuesday in the third week of every February for the opening of each cashew season. All of these initiatives are considered in line with the President's Beyond Aid agenda to transform the Ghanaian economy, industrialize our agriculture, process more of what we produce, and increase our export to win ourselves from foreign aid.
In terms of employment, it's actually going to be huge. I mean, I have seen, even recently, quite a lot of interest from people who hitherto wouldn't have been interested in farming and asking questions about, well, how can we do this whole cashew thing and all of that. And that's not just cashew, with other things, because for us as a country, with the sort of climate that we have and the number of people that are actually engaged in agric, we need to move away from this whole just farming. I mean, as a farming, if you like, or an agricultural economy to an agribusiness economy. And there's two different things, right? See it as actually a business. So if you like, the biggest companies in the world in terms of the food, like Nestle and Kellogg's and all of those things, are by extension agribusiness, and that is where we'll be able to make a lot of impact. Because if you like, 60% of our population are one way or the other involved in agriculture. And now if we move it from just mere farming into an agribusiness where you're tapping into the whole value chain, the production, marketing, transportation, packaging, design, all of those things, then the number of people that would actually be engaged in that sector will be huge, will be enormous.
With me in the studio, my own brother, Edward Carriway, who's the General Secretary for GAO. Edward, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you, Nana.
Good news, the 10-year cashew development plan.
Well, let me say good evening to you all here and also to our viewers, and also the opportunity for us to share our thoughts on what is going on in agriculture and the economy as a whole. It's good news because if we can allocate resources and plan into the future for agriculture, it is good for us. And that is good for every industry sector. If we separate or unpack our economy and then look at the various subsectors of the economy and plan ahead for each subsector, then of course we are focused, and then we could see where the linkages are and put it on. So if today we have had a plan for cashew into the future, that is a decade, I think it's a welcome news.
Do you think the challenges in planting for food and jobs should be ironed out before we add this on, or it's okay? Look, you can't get everything perfect. Look, let's bring it on board. Let's go.
Well, there are different types of challenges. The planting for food and jobs is targeting crop agriculture, the crop subsector of agriculture. If you look at the cashew, it's more of a plantation agriculture. So the challenges are different, and they serve different purposes. Whereas we can eat the maize, we can eat the rice, we can consume the vegetables, sorghum, immediately it is harvested. The cashew may not be like that. And even if you consume it directly, we may not be able to consume it in the quantities that we consume this one. You cannot eat cashew and sleep. Of course, you can try it in a day or two, but it can be continuous. So you see that there are different crop sectors and there are different challenges. So we cannot wait until we resolve all the problems facing the plant for food and jobs before we go to cashew.
I think at the moment there are about 300,000 people, already involved in it. Are they inviting more people to come on board or increase the yields of those who are already on there?
You mean the cashew?
The cashew, yes.
Well, this is an area that is not too well known to our economy, even though it is there. It's an area that, as a national policy, we have not focused on it. It's an area that is an emerging area of a good source of foreign exchange and then employment generation for the economy. So it's something that I think the attention of state and government and all of us is now being focused on. So I think it's coming up.
I mean, we're doing about 55 to 60,000 tons at the moment. So I mean, there's quite a considerable number out there. And somehow the African cashew seems to have a lot of value on the world market.
Yes, it's much the best of the food of the world comes from Africa, because Africa still have virgin lands. The whole atmosphere, the whole environment of Africa is still quite original. Pollution on the African continent is far less than any part of the world. So you can see that quality of life, the environment is still quite rich in Africa. So you see that we have the best of cocoa, we have the best of cashew, and so many, whatever we produce in Africa. What we now need to do, how to translate that advantage into real incomes and power for us, is what we have failed to do over the years. If we produce the best of cocoa, are we able to take advantage of the fact that we produce the best of cocoa, be able to negotiate the best or dictate the world market price? Over the years, we have not been able to do that. So the same thing could be with cashew. And in any case, are we going to process the cashew here before we export it, or we are going to export it in the raw form? And for how long are we going to continue? But of course, we have had enormous experience about what raw produce of agriculture can do for us and what it cannot do for us. We have been exporting raw beans, cocoa beans, for all these years, and generally whatever we export as agricultural produce is in the raw form. We have seen how our revenues have tumbled over the years, have dwindled over the years. We have seen how over-reliance on such primary products have indeed affected our budgeting, and our development into the future. Are we going to continue in that trajectory? This is a good history for us. This is a good experience for us to now deal with cashew differently from what we have been doing with the other crops that we have already producing.
I mean, could it be that, I mean, there isn't much to do about cashew other than getting out of the green skin? Either you going to roast it or give it to that person. I mean, what is more to do with cashew?
Well, it's all about what your purpose of production is. If you have an advantage in terms of climatic conditions, which we acknowledge we have the best of cashew in the world, then even if you do not consume it, you can produce it just to make money. So the purpose for the production has to be clear. We may not necessarily have to consume it. Like cocoa. Over the years, we have not been major consumers of cocoa, yet we have led the world in cocoa production, because it was meant to bring us foreign exchange, and with that foreign exchange, we can now use it for other needs of the society, for infrastructure and then for other developmental needs. The same way, we may not necessarily need to consume the cashew, but we can use it as a foreign exchange earner for this country. And how do we maximize that? It's not just the raw form, but we need to process it. And how are we going to, strategically place ourselves in that area?
The 200,000 people were registered in the Planting for Food and Jobs. The coming year, they're moving up to 500,000. And that's a staggering amount. I know there's been, issues with how many people who actually got a job or didn't get a job. But so far, what's your general view about the program?
Well, one, it has created, it's a topic for all of us to talk about. There is wide awareness, there's growing awareness of agriculture, that planting for food and jobs we've all been talking about, so the awareness is created. Now, individuals could begin to think as to whether they should go back to agriculture or not. But what people respond to is, what are the benefits? Because when you are a human being is faced with different choices, you look at the choice that would inure more to your benefit. So if you go into agriculture, will that inure to your benefit more than going to other areas? And that is where policy mix is critical here. Because as a country, and the policymakers must design the policies in such a way that they skew and direct our energies to a particular area that they think is important at this moment. So if we think that agriculture is critical to lead our economic transformation, then the policies should be designed, calibrated in such a way that you benefit more when you go into agriculture. The returns that you get from agriculture will be far more than other areas. So human beings, Ghanaians, will want to buy into this, not by true force, but by the inducement, by the inducement.
Subsidies?
Subsidies is one.
Tax reliefs?
Tax reliefs. And then also making it easier to go into the agriculture and creating market. In fact, one of the major challenges of agriculture is market. It's only in agriculture that you can hardly determine the price that you sell your produce when you produce it. Because before you start production, in many areas, you can know, for instance, you can determine a bag of maize will be sold at the end of the harvest, say 100 Ghana cedis. So you can do your own projections and you know the yield per acre. So you do your own projections and you then match your cost. Because if your cost is going beyond that, then you see that you will not make profit. So it allows you to plan and then to monitor your costs. But here it's very difficult to predict the price at the end of the season. So you don't know the revenue levels before you even start production. So whoever goes into agriculture, generally, they just go there, and then at the point of harvest, they are now confronted with the realities. And what are those realities? There's glut. Because you cannot predict how much maize we are going to produce in this country at the end of the year. Because you don't know how many people have gone into maize production for that period. You don't have that information as an individual farmer. So you are just doing it at your own level, hoping that when you harvest, the price will be good. And that indeed has not been an incentive for people who want to go into agriculture and then to plan their lives.
But you have cooperatives, and don't you talk to each other so we know that, well, among these 100 people, 60 people are doing maize, and therefore, look, watch it, maybe move towards tomatoes because there's enough maize, in the cooperative?
Individuals still do their own planning, but their planning has a limit. It's limited to what individuals can do. Then beyond what individuals can do, you now move to the national level. And that is a macro issue which an individual cannot do on your own. Look, let me tell you, if you take tomatoes is a crop that is capital intensive. It's also a crop that you can easily make a lot of money from it. And it's also a crop that you can lose all your expenditure, your cost, everything that it is. Look, when you go into tomato production and it is time for harvesting, it takes 2 weeks. Within 2 weeks, everything will be right. So if you don't get good market, here I mean when the price is not good, within the 2 weeks, then you will lose everything. So if later on, after the 2 weeks, the price becomes good, you don't even have tomatoes to sell. So you would have lost everything, Mm-hmm. So this is not an individual who can control these factors. These factors can be controlled by a bigger national policy design that you may not make the profit that you want, but you will not also run at a loss. You will break even, and that has to come from national policy design.
Let me take a quick break here and we'll come back and continue. I want to find out with regards to supplement, i.e. Fertilizers and the seeds. We're told that there were enough in the district. Were they there, and did they come in time? Don't go. The agri sector development is the issue on the table. Let me give you the number because let's see how you're benefiting or how your brother or friend is benefiting from planting for food and jobs. The number is 054 740 2488. 054 740 2488. But let's hear what some of the peasant farmers are saying on the ground. They are there. Let's hear some.
Planting for Food and Job program is laudable, and I first thank the government for taking that step. But we face so many challenges. One, the distribution of inputs comes in late, you see. So for me, I think they targeted those who are working on farming on the upland by rain-fed farmers. But we are irrigation farmers. Even the rain-fed to the arrival of the inputs, they arrive late. So they found it very difficult.
The first issue that everyone is talking about is the early arrival of inputs. I would have expected that even by now, the inputs should have been distributed to various regions for distribution to start. I don't know how far we've gone with that, but I hope something is done about that. Also, we are also pleased about the expansion of the program to include other crops. We've advocated for that, and we wish that the capacity of these local seed producers are also built to ensure that we don't spend so much money to import all these seeds, so we can have them locally and generate revenues and everything is kept here. We also expect that, especially in the areas of post-harvest loss and management, our statistics in terms of the way we lose our produce after harvest is not the best. And the measures put in place by this PFG is not adequate to deal with the excess loss that we make out of post-harvest loss. So I'd expect that with this year's implementation of the program, there will be adequate mechanisms to ensure that farmers who are able to produce their harvest, there's available storage facilities, there's improved infrastructure, farmers have ready market. Because the moment farmers are not able to sell their produce or not able to market it well, it's a disincentive for them to produce the following year.
Well, so you can hear those on the ground speaking, and they seem to like the scheme, but they're worried about the timings of the input. Like you said, nothing is perfect, so maybe we need to check the timings that they get their inputs. But let's look at sustainability.
Well, sustainability goes with commitment, and you need to build your capacity also to let things be sustainable. For instance, we started with 200,000 farmers for 2017. Now, this year, 2018, we are moving to 500,000 farmers. Now, the complaints of the farmers that we are hearing is with the 2017 period, and that is with the 200,000 farmers. Now, you need to address those challenges. Now we are increasing it by by 150%, from 200,000 farmers to 500,000 farmers. It means the management capacity of the implementers have to also increase tremendously to be able to cope up with the huge numbers. You see, and the rate at which increment is made, additions are made to the program, could be a challenge to, servicing them well, because if the numbers are too huge and you have not put all the logistics in place, you may not be able to send all the fertilizer. For instance, they are saying that the fertilizers came in late. If 200,000 farmers say required a certain quantity of fertilizer, say A, now 500,000 farmers will need A plus B. You see? Mm-hmm. So you need to increase your capacity to be able to deliver these inputs on time and then to reach them. It's not only about that the inputs did not get to them early. Some of the reasons, some of the concerns about the farmers is that the type of fertilizer that was given to them, they did not like it. You know, because, and you recall that one time when we were here, that issue also came up, and then it's like, it may be new fertilizer, which is as good as what they know, but you need to get them to appreciate that the new fertilizer you are introducing is as good as the old one before they accept it. What we also gather on the ground is that some of the seed went to places where they needed less than the quantity that got there, like in a particular district. So you find out that at the end of the day, there's still excess seed in that particular district. But in another district or place, the seed was not enough. You know, you need to create a mechanism that allows this free flow of inputs from one particular location to another. Because it is true that we will plan, you bring all the regional directors, the districts to plan about their quantities. But that cannot be exactly accurate. You know, even if they have gotten it, for obvious reasons, some challenges, when they are distributing the input, it is possible that you can have excess more than what you needed, and then another district has less. Have we put in place a mechanism that allow the districts to link up with each other and then easily move the inputs around? But if the decision making is so bureaucratic that before you can move inputs from one district, which is just next to another district, you need to return to Accra or to a higher body to get approval to do this before you do that. By the time you get all that, the bureaucracy would have made the inputs to get to the other place late, you know, and that could create problems. So moving forward, we need to work on all these challenges that are being raised by the farmers, and then the additional challenge of the numbers that you have added, because you now have more numbers to manage. You know, you now have more numbers to manage. So the sustainability of the program will depend on how committed we are and how we pay attention to the challenges that we record, and then also anticipate and prepare for new challenges, because new challenges will emerge and you need to plan towards them. Given the challenges you've had and you've addressed them, you should be able to plan against new challenges which have not arisen before.
This one says, Nana, ask him what's his estimate of the actual figure of jobs the ministry created last year. Send your WhatsApp. It's 054 740 2488. 054 740 2488. Send your messages and I will read them out for you. It says, what does Gao estimate that jobs were created?
Well, we don't want to guess about, to put the figures on it. You know, we would like, that's why we want to get our institutions working. One of the things probably with our system is that various institutions have not been given the capacity to do what they are supposed to do well. Because various institutions are there with mandate. We need to strengthen those ones. I don't have to claim that I have the capacity to go around the whole country, collect that data, because we are a union, we are this, or we are concerned. No, it may not be within our capacity, you know, to do that. But there are other institutions that we can now call on, that we all trust, we all believe they have got the capacity to do so. For instance, there are these research institutions. We are not researchers. We rely on the research institutions to tell us more about what they have done. Those institutions, we will advocate that they should be strengthened. Their capacity should be enhanced. Their resource base should be strengthened, you know, and to make them more, capable of doing what they are supposed to do, you know. For instance, the statistical service, if they had gone out to do this, you know, all of us when it comes to national statistics, we rely on the National the Statistical Service. We need to strengthen them. We don't need to duplicate, you know. So whilst we are putting up these programs, we should also be seeking to strengthen the institutions with the mandate to do various jobs.
Have your unions accepted this? Have they bought into this idea? Because it's one of those ideas where if we all don't buy into it, you know, it will die a death.
Which one?
The planting for food and jobs. I mean, have people bought into it?
We have bought into it, and now the first day, that was in 2017 at the New Year school, when the president and the minister talked about it the first time. We were among the first people, and on this your media, I mean on your platform, we indicated that this is a fantastic program. And we did indicate that given the experience of the minister and given the in agriculture and given the experience that we've had as a country, building this program, Planting for Food and Jobs, which is similar to what happened with Operation Feed Yourself, then we have no excuse to fail. We have no excuse to fail. So, but in the course of it, we have also now seen the challenges that are emerging, because even though the programs are similar, they have been implemented at different times of our economic development. You know, at the time of the 1970s, the economy was a closed economy. We were not in a democracy. The whole global community was still a highly closed economy. Today, globalization has come. We have opened up within the ECOWAS sub-region itself, because when Operation Feed Yourself came in, ECOWAS was not in existence. ECOWAS came into existence in 1975. You see? And because it came in 1975, it was still at its infancy. So there were no many protocols. But today, there's now free movement of goods and services within this sub-region. We have entered into WTO. Economic Partnership Agreement has also come in. So when you are implementing a similar policy today, it will face different challenges, even though it is a similar program. It will face different challenges. And that is what we're, you know, we did our analysis, said yes, the program is good, it's a laudable one, but then it's being implemented at a time that there are different challenges. So they should be mindful of the current challenges and then make sure that those current challenges do not strangulate the good policy.
Let me let viewers that we tried reading Kennedy Osenyako, who's a Deputy Agric Minister. He promised, you know, to come and answer a few questions for us, but unfortunately we can't get him on his phone, so we left with you. This was what's the situation of the farm inputs for this year's program? Have your guys, you know, said anything yet? Are the inputs for this year, does it look like it's going to come in early?
Well, it will still be very difficult, but as you've heard from the farmers, if we are picking these complaints or concerns from the farmers and addressing them, then it is our hope that the inputs should come in early this year than before, because we are addressing challenges. So if that was the challenge in 2017, and of course it was a challenge, we should be able to address it this year. It should not be one of the challenges that we should have this year. If we are going to have a challenge, it should be something else, but not the challenge that has occurred a year ago. We should be able to address it. So it is hopeful that the inputs should be in place early enough before the planting season begins.
This one wants to know if YEA extension offices are going to be absorbed. Have you heard any? Have got any wind?
Well, that is also a major concern. You know, when you focus on agriculture, you are not only going to focus on the production side alone, but all institutions that have something to do with agriculture, you focus on them. If you take the graduates from the agri colleges, that they are not yet even on the allowances, you know, that have been given to the nurses and so on and teachers. They have not gotten it. You know, what signal does it give? You know, if indeed agri is the major focus of the economic development program, then they must also be supported. They must also be on the subsidy, because you need to grow your extension offset and pay the ministry's own statistics. And what they tell us, that up to 80% of the extension staff that they have today, who are even inadequate, will be going on retirement within the next 3 years. So these are young men and women who are being trained as extension officers, and they are in the schools. Then they should also be supported. They should also have the allowances. And then beyond that, when they come out, there are about 3,000 who have completed. It's easier to absorb them so that they can do the work. If you talk about the YEA, well, it does not necessarily mean that they are a well-trained extension officers. And we should treat agriculture as a profession. You know, the extension officers must be treated as professionals, not like any other civil servant. You know, because we think that farming is just anybody at all can go into farming. But when it comes to extension delivery, that one is a specialized area. And those people must be treated like professionals. And what do we do to our professionals in Ghana? The way we treat them, we should treat extension officers like that. There should be immediate employment for them, and then they will go to the ministry, you employ them there, and you give them necessary salaries, necessary allowances, logistics for them to move to where farming is being done. And, you know, let me say that given the rapid urbanization of this country, farming is now done far more from the urban areas. So if you're an extension officer, you need to be so mobile to be able to reach your farmers far away from the town, you know. And that means that they need to have strong and good logistics like motorbikes and other allowances that will motivate them to go there, because they are young men and women. Even now, if you take our type who are quite older, we may not be able to accept those type of conditions, but these are young men and women.
What are we doing? I mean, you and the Agric fraternity, because one of the issues we have is that the young ones are shying away from Agric, and even though they brought this program, we've highlighted a few things which said, look, somebody would think, you know, do I go and plant corn and wait and hope to God somebody buys it or not? With the Agric fraternity, is there anything being done to make Agric sexy?
Well, it's not, there's not much that has been done to make Agric sexy, and I believe that about 2 years ago, Mo Ibrahim came and then talked about it. You know, there are certain radical, you know, policy decisions that we can take to get Agric sexy. For, if you look at the way we honor our presidents when they are leaving office, one of them is to get them a house in Accra and then another house wherever they need. We could turn that into, the assumption is that they don't have homes. They don't have houses. Otherwise, why do you build a house for somebody who has already got a house? But we had an assumption that they do not have houses. Is that not it? So we should build a house for them to stay. That in reality, we know it doesn't exist. They have houses already. So what we could do is, as part of your package, we could get a farm for you to go there, a farm. And you can imagine that if our top elite, from military, from civil servants, from the presidents who are on retirement, if they have a strong stake, a huge stake in the agricultural sector, no government will come and implement policies that will go against their interest. You know, they will say, no, you can't import, you can't make your import policies so liberal to undermine our production here. You know, but because, and then it will serve as an attraction to hear that our former civil servants, our former presidents are owning these farms and they are living on their farms. You know, you would yearn to be like them. You know that if they can be on the farms, why not me? And that is how we can make it sexy.
Let me take a break. I'm coming straight back. And keep your messages coming. I'll catch up. It's 054 740 2488. 054 740 2488. Planting for food and jobs, cashew. So are they going to eventually have a cashew marketing board?
Yes. Yeah, that's a board.
So if you're listening and you have some patch of land somewhere, you know, I think get more details and plug yourself into it. This one is from Saveligu Municipality. It says, in fact, planting for food program was a laudable idea and it really busted out farming activities. We would be very grateful if government would supply the farm inputs, seeds, fertilizer early. Thanks. And this is from Alidu Diali in Saveligu Municipality. It's been a godsend program for, you know, those who want to go into agric.
Yes, it's a good program, not only for those in agric, but to a lot of business. You know, you can imagine that if we sustain the planting for food and jobs and taking advantage of the investment gaps that are created. You know, if you're an investor, you are looking at gaps. Where am I going to fill in my resources to be able to make money? Because investors are very, very intelligent and they are seeking to maximize profit. So where are they going to put in their investment to make money? Now, this is planting for food and jobs. It started with 200,000 farmers. It's now going to 500,000 farmers. Where are they going to get the seed? So if you're an investor and you have money or you have ideas and you want to intervene in the seed, you know, chain aspect of it, you can do so. Now, but you'll be asking yourself many questions. If I produce the seed, will they buy it? Now, if you get the guarantees that when you produce the seed, government will take it for the farmers, then of course, immediately, it's an area to make an investment. You don't necessarily need to be in agriculture before. You can just partner. Well, you have got money. You just partner someone there, and then you produce the seed, and then you sell it. But if it is not clear, if the program is not clear, that when you produce seed, they will take it, you will also be very cautious because it involves money. And you may probably need to go to the banks to get a loan for your business. So when you are not sure about the market, in this case, the seed, the market, your market is who is going to buy your seed? Will government take it? If you have an agreement that they will take it, then there's already market for you. You see?
Is it a case where maybe after the third planting season, by now you should have you know, enough money to be on your own because you're buying fertilizer at half price, seeds at half price, subsidized here and there. So, you know, by the third, fourth planting season, you should be weaning yourself of the scheme, standing on your own 2 feet.
You mean the individual farmer?
Yeah, who's on the planting for food and job now. You know, after some time, you know, you exit for somebody to also come.
Yeah, that is great because even when you are in farming, you should know that this program will not be there forever. I mean, when I talk about the program being there forever, it will change face over time. Because subsidies should not also be abused. There must be time limit. There must be an exit point. And that should be made clear. And whoever is taking subsidy today, you should take the advantage, prepare yourself. In the event that the subsidy that does not come, say in 2 years' time or subsequent years, you have prepare yourself adequately to be able to stand on your own. We will not also like a situation whereby governments continue to just give subsidies forever. Because subsidies, when they go beyond a certain point, they do not achieve their goal again. They become useless, they become waste. And all of us need to bear this in mind. So we should know that it's not going to be forever, because a time may come when it will not be wise for government to continue to give the subsidies.
Are you informing your members?
No, but this is, we are informing them, because we are saying take advantage to grow your business and even be seeking to diversify. You also need to build capital that can insulate you from the vagaries of the weather. If you make so much money in this season, what are you going to do with the excess money? Well, you may not probably use everything for the next season. What are you going to do with the next, with the excess money?
Do you think we are putting our money where our mouth is with regards to agri? There seems to be some small revolution in the agri sector.
Yes. These are the type of revolutions that go without guns, that go without deaths. We need this type of revolutions. And for us, we would call them revolutionary and radical policies. We need to have those type of radicalism in us, and radicalism will go with commitment. For the revolution to succeed, you need a strong commitment, and that is where we seem to be found wanting when it comes to commitment.
This one says, good evening to you, Nana, and your guest. Your guest is doing a good job. Nana, the program is laudable and can be sustained. The figures given by the Honorable Minister are accurate and factual. Those who have not worked with agriculture on the ground have a difficulty to understand. This is Wunzuya in Tamale. But, I mean, if your yields are growing, you definitely get your sister to come and help you to harvest.
Yeah.
Is that what they're claiming? That's teaming that, look, maybe the sister would have been home, but now because the yields doubled, she was on the farm and maybe she earned herself 10 cedis that day?
We don't want to think for them, because they are capable of thinking and defending themselves in their cause, in what they have stated. We are only asking the question for further clarification. How are the jobs created and where are the jobs? More importantly, when you say the jobs are permanent, you have a permanent job. I've known you for a number of years. Many people can easily call you and they can trace you here because you have got a permanent job. And let me.
Did they say the 750 was permanent?
Yes, because later
on I think the 200,000 was permanent, but then the add-ons, the extra hands that came to help them harvest and plant and so was what built up to the 700.
The 200,000 farmers were already there. Those jobs were already there. They were identified as farmers. So those jobs were already created. They are not part of what they have created. And I'm saying that we all need to be clear that we have all got interest in job creation. Look, I spend much of my money servicing people who have not got jobs because they are relations, they are brothers, they are friends, they are this. So when they get jobs, certainly I will be relieved of that burden and I can enjoy my wages well. And that goes with everybody. And the pride that goes with people having jobs and so on. So we are all interested in the jobs. So if 745,000 jobs have been created and they can prove them to us, of course, we should all celebrate and then go on with it.
Well, I'll lead you, Salim, take one message before Yao kicks me off set. Alidi says, frankly, I'm really excited about the program and the discussion. I'm a teacher, but I decided to zoom into farming due to the government's Planting for Food program. And as I'm speaking now, I can boast of 55 bags of maize, which if I should sell now, I will be having more than 7,000 Ghana cedis. Thank you.
Yes. That's why we say that the policy itself is good. All that, all that we are saying is that we should take steps not to fall into the past. And that's what the people who are even on the ground, like the farmers who have implemented, have raised concerns. We are saying those things should be addressed
early.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. 024-366-2001. 024-366-2001. Tanti's Fashions, thank you. They make my shirts for the show. And I want to say big thank you to Edward Carriwer, who lives and breathes at Greg. And thank you for your time for coming on the show. We'll be back to do this all over again. Thank you very much for watching. All those who even sent your messages, thank you.